Today I'm attempting a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl using only grass types. With only 5 Pokemon at my disposal in Torterra, Roserade, Cherrim, Carnivine, and Abomasnow, I'm definitely in for a beating. But I imagine with both Candace and Flint only appearing once I've collected all of them, then I should at least have a fair shot of completing this challenge. Hardcore Nuzlocke rules are in the description if you need a refresher or are new to the concept. Make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment with what game and type you want me to do in the future. Now, before I grab Turtwig and begin the complexities of solving a Nuzlocke with only 5 encounters, I can't even begin to understand the complexities of something like programming. But that's why I've got today's sponsor, Boot.dev. Boot.dev is an online program in the shell of a fun, RPG-like experience made for learning software development through programming languages like Python or Go. Yeah, leveling up, earning XP, and completing main and side quests through the curriculum, and the vast amount of challenges in the training grounds respectively. Now, I've just started my journey, and as someone who's been out of school for over half a decade at this point, I had to get my brain back into the learning environment. But frankly, it was so easy with the reward incentive structure Boot.dev provides to its users. Not to mention the real-world examples in its curriculum. There was a Pokemon example while talking about F-strings in Python, using a screenshot of Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 with the funny line of "America's strength made it possible to move boulders around." Having examples from games and sites to show real-world applications for these fundamental programming skills especially helped me to retain the information as I was going for future usage. And on top of that, all of the material is free to read with interactivity requiring a membership. But that's where I come in, as I'm offering you a whopping 25% off your 1-year subscription by using the link in the description or the QR code on screen with promo code Chaotic Meatball. So go give Boot.dev a try today, and if you don't like it, they have a 30-day no questions asked refund policy, so there's no risk. Thank you so much to Boot.dev again for sponsoring the video and for the year-long membership gift in order for me to talk about it properly. But with that, let's jump into the deep end of Sinnoh with only grass types. Now, of course, since we're using a starter type, that makes me free to snap up Turtwig from the Verity Lakefront, take out the Starly in my way, and begin the early game, nicknaming him Tootwig because my sense of humor hasn't changed since I was 12. I was watching the AVGN back then, so that explains a lot. There's not many required trainers before Rourke, so best for me to focus on EVs as early as I can to get at least a semblance of an advantage over my lack of type diversity. Torterra is eventually a grass-ground physical bond that can take punishment as well as it gives, and due to its poor speed stat, I would much rather go for a mix of HP and attack EVs, thankfully received from level 2 Bidoof on Route 201 and level 3 Shinx on Route 202 respectively, for the least EXP yield for them as possible, giving 16 and 25 EXP respectively. I can't max Turtwig out yet, but I sure can force quite a chunk of HP bulk that will hopefully be helpful against Rourke's head case of a Cranidos. As for my second encounter, that is Budew just to the north of Jubilife City on Route 204. She's a special attacker through and through, and whilst level 2 Starly provides speed EVs at 16 EXP a pop, the lowest level special attack yielder is Psyduck in Ravaged Path, with a whopping 57 EXP a pop because its lowest level it appears at is level 5, so it'll take a while for me to max out the eventual Roserade. Speaking of, that Shiny Stone isn't going to be available until Iron Island just before the 6th gym, so we're going to be stuck with Roselia for a long time. Not a horrible thing though, since I had no idea Roselia had a base 100 special attack and base 65 speed. Pretty respectable for a Pokemon that I can get before the first gym after running around like a madman for friendship. Now the Axel nickname makes a lot more sense given the rose hands. You might be thinking I'm referencing Guns N' Roses, but no, I'm making a reference to the reference. That's right, Axel the Red from Mega Man X5, referenceception as it were. One of these days I gotta try doing the retro achievements for that game, or any non-Pokemon game in general. That sounds like a fun idea for a second channel. After bringing both to level 13 with Budew learning Mega Drain and evolving into Roselia in the process, it's time for our first major fight against the rival. He's only got a Starly and a Chimchar, so I'm just able to wail on him with 2 tackles from Turtwig to KO Starly, then a Razor Leaf crit into tackle combo to KO Chimchar, fighting no other trainers before arriving in Orberg, sending Rourke packing back to his gym, and getting to the fight itself. Now the most sensible thing is to just sit there with Turtwig against his lead Geodude, set up 6 withdraws to max out my defenses for Cranidos, then heal all the way back up off of Geodude and Onix by using Absorb. Though Onyx does manage to bring Turtwig down to +4 defense with a Screech. Though once I get to Cranidos, I realize that it does not matter at all since +4 still makes Headbutt only do 6 damage, letting me ensure I heal out of a crit range with Absorb, doing so 3 times through a potion before finally finishing the fight with a physical Razor Leaf, earning the win and the Coal Badge. Good start! Glad this is one of the games that starts with a Rock Gym leader and not like flying like Johto or bug like Kalos, or I would have been in for a world of hurt. Back on through the Orbor Gate through Jubilife City, I've got an increase of level cap from 14 to 22, so that's a boatload of experience room to shove more EVs into Turtwig and Roselia, evolving the former into Grottle before heading north through the Galactic Runts, finally through Ravage Path with the power of Rock Smash to hit Flow Aroma Town. None of the Galactic Runts in the Meadow are a threat, nor are the ones in Valley Windworks are even required to battle, so I'm free to head straight into the fight with Mars and Cleaner Clock, using Leech Seed and Stun Spore with Roselia against her lead Zubat before setting up 6 growths, KOing with Mega Drain before Purugly comes out and is immediately outsped in one shot with the same move. If there's one thing I love about grass types, it is that they are no nonsense when it comes to setup sweeps. They get straight to the point in terms of learning moves like Growth at a low level. I've been told to touch grass in my time, but come on, why would I ever risk it when I know it's just used 6 growths and can kill me at a moment's notice? Now, I could have given myself added security before Mars by grabbing a Cherubi from one of the honey trees beforehand, but frankly, I don't see her being too useful until evolving into Cherim. Regardless, there is another special attacker there. Kind of. Cherubi doesn't learn jack all in terms of non-grass attacks, so I imagine Cherim will just be able to whack lower level foes with Petal Dances to get through them quickly, maybe Sunny Day Solar Beam sweeps and lay down a Leech Seed here or there, but otherwise I can't see her being very useful. If only the Blooming form had a stat change like it does in Legends Arceus, then maybe I could see some use for it. With the newly seasoned Giggler in the party though, I'm fine to head up through Eterna Forest, fighting alongside Cheryl past a few trainers in order to make it to Eterna City. And while you'd think this fight would be a bit of a struggle due to it being a mirror with the exception of Gardenia having the superior Roserade over Roselia, it's actually quite easy since her lead is Cherubi and therefore easy prey for setup sweeping against. I tried to stifle any chances of Gardenia doing any growth shenanigans of her own, but I missed Stun Spore, and she immediately sets up Safeguard. Go frickin' figure. Who cares though, I'll just use 6 growths and go from there regardless. She does a great job sitting there and twiddling her thumbs, with the exception of a Grass Knot that triggers Poison Point. But once Roselia's up to +6, it's just a Mega Drain for Cherubi, a Mega Drain for Turtwig, and finally Roserade, who doesn't have any neutral special moves, with only one neutral physical move in Poison Sting. So I'm more than happy to fire off quad-resisted Mega Drains for a quarter apiece, getting paralyzed halfway through but eventually nailing the 4th and final Mega Drain on Roserade to snatch up the Forest Badge. Now, here's where the part where Diamond and Pearl Nuzlockes always get frustrating, since you can either take on Maylene or Crasher Wake in whatever order you'd like, but both of them with a level cap of 30, so if you don't have a type advantage against one of them, you're going to be going into one of them under-leveled and likely with a not fully evolved team. Important Crasher Wake has Quagsire, Floatzel, and Gyarados, while Maylene has Meditite, Machoke, and Lucario. The latter of which is much easier to take down if you don't have a type advantage against either, but I'll be aiming for Crasher Wake first due to my advantage over everything not named Gyarados. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I gotta go take down the Galactic Building here in Eterna before heading anywhere to save the bike store owner. You know, for some reason I didn't know until today, but the owner's name is Rad Rickshaw. What a funny ass name, Rad Rickshaw. For some reason, word association is making me think of Roderick Strong and how much I love watching that man kill anyone's back within the confines of a wrestling ring. Oh boy, that sure seems like a great way to shatter a lower vertebrae. Anyway, Jupiter's trying to stop me, but I'd like to see her try. She's got a few turns to do it as I set up growths with Roselia following a Stun Spore and Leech Seed combo on her lead Zubat, but she never fires off a wing attack until I am at +6 special attack. Does a little under half damage before Mega Drain KOs and heals off all the damage. Last up is Skuntank, and I've just got to fire off 2 Mega Drains to end this even through the Citrus Berry. But oh boy, Smokescreen! Even going -1 tends to be the death of me, but I don't think a Grottle or a Cherubi's going to be able to fight a Skuntank, so I either connect with a second Mega Drain or I reset when Roselia dies. I missed twice in a row, in the face of a second Smokescreen and a Night Slash that does exactly half damage. But the third time's the charm as Mega Drain connects, finishing off Skuntank and letting me continue on unscathed. I mean, what the heck was I supposed to do? It's not like Grottle has Bulldoze or some equally early game ground type move to make this fight have some strategy to it. It's either setup sweep on the Zubat or get ass blasted. Now then, one evasive maneuvering through Cycling Road and passing of Mount Coronet later, and there's Hardhome City. It's not Platinum, so we're not ready for a fight against Fantina yet, but we are in fact ready for a fight against Barry. He's a bit threatening now, thanks to his lead Starly having an actual flying type move, but that's what Leech Seed is for. I'd say Stun Spore, but Starly managed to poison himself on the first attack thanks to Roselia's Poison Point, so I may as well get the growths in while I can. As long as he's content wasting turns on Quick Attack, I am more than happy to keep going for growth, getting 3 of them in since that poison damage on top of Leech Seed is really doing a number on him, KOing and leading to Monferno. Weirdly, he immediately goes for Mach Punch, doing very minimal damage and once again triggering Poison Point as I whiff a Stun Spore. Well, I guess I'm going back over to Mega Drain, doing a little over half as Fury swipes his— why is he not going for a fire attack? I mean, I guess I'll take the free KO with a second Mega Drain. Just what on God's earth is the AI thinking here? What were they thinking? Second to last is Weasel, so I may as well take the time to throw up one more growth and hit my newly learned Giga Drain to heal back to full, all because we've got a mirror match as Barry's final Pokemon, and I'd rather not be hitting it for pennies on the dollar. Or I guess in my case, pixels on the health bar. It only takes 2 hits to take down Roselia if it weren't for Barry extending the fight with Mega Drain for no reason, but a third finishes him off to earn me passage to Route 209. Now, of course, there's this big old gap between Route 209, Salacion Town, Route 210, and finally Route 215 before hitting Veilstone, but none of the trainers give me any trouble with the exception of exactly the last pair of Ace trainers. The male has a Monferno, but thankfully it's nerfed by the area's rainfall, letting Cherubi take it down, but Gyarados is powered up by it. Now you'd think this is why I kept Sunny Day on Cherubi beforehand, but no, I'm actually a room temperature IQ dipshit that needed the whole team to take it down before Cherubi evolved into Cherim. The other trainer isn't so bad, thankfully, so I'm able to end up in Veilstone, the home of all the TMs I could possibly want. In reality, after getting the coin case, there's only 1 TM I need for Grotle right now in return, but Swords Dance will be coming up rather soon. And just for preparation, I cleared out a path of necessary trainers between Veilstone and Pastoria, getting to the latter's gym and clearing out all of the trainers as Crasher wakes ready for a pounding, no not that way, as he leads Gyarados and I go with Roselia. I've got as many contingencies as I can possibly muster here. I've got just enough HP EVs to survive 2 Dragon Rages after a Leech Seed recovery, which I'll be able to get rid of with Palm Egg Berries later. I have a Person Berry equipped for Swagger, I have a Resistance to Brine, and the only thing I've got to worry about is Bite, but I'm not getting outsped, so at least flinching is a non-factor. This means all that Roselia's got to do is set up Leech Seed and start going for growth, taking a Brine on the Leech Seed turn. Now I've only got to get in 2 growths, taking a Dragon Rage and healing to 41 after Leech Seed damage just like I drew it up, then dodging a Swagger as the second growth is applied, finally KOing with Giga Drain and Leech Seed damage next turn after taking another Dragon Rage. I probably should have gone for a third just in case, but alas, that means Floatzel is a one-shot after being outsped with Pursuit. Albeit not the plan, since I expected Wake to go for Quagsire second so I can get my HP back, but I guess the AI didn't feel like throwing. At least it wasn't a crit though, since that's a free KO as Quagsire enters last and dies immediately to Giga Drain. You know, I do actually like to look good when I'm doing a Nuzlocke, but I swear my play makes me look like a jackass who only knows how to press the setup sweep button. Admittedly, that's probably true since I like finding the most optimal way to do tasks like the retro achievements videos I've done on Pokemon Brown and Crystal Clear, but sometimes you just gotta know whether you still have it in you to bullshit your way through video games based on dumb luck in the right moments. As for Maylene's gym, it doesn't take me long to get through it, but I sure do wish I had Earthquake on Grotle. Alas, he doesn't evolve until level 32, so I'm going to have to take down Lucario without it. Meditite's at least simple to set up against with Cherim, that's right, not Roselia this time, as Meditite's only way to apply status is through Psybeam, so by slapping a Person Berry as my equip and Leech Seed onto Meditite, I'm more than capable of setting up 2 growths before throwing out a Magical Leaf to KO, leading to Machoke, who eats the same to go from 100 to 0, leaving just Lucario. Now here's where Petal Dance comes in, since at +2, I can easily eat the held Citrus Berry and KO with the second hit without any healing items coming into play. Force Palm though is admittedly a bit of a threat considering the potential paralysis, but frankly I thought the confusion from Psybeam was more worrisome given that's where I was doing the Cherim setup. Thankfully it doesn't paralyze, only doing about a third as the second and final Petal Dance wrecks his day, putting down one of the most popular Pokemon of all time that I cannot believe is 20 years old already. Seriously, Lucario and the Mystery of Mew came out in July of 2005 over in Japan, only 2 months after North America got Pokemon Emerald. Just out of curiosity, looking at this movie's Bulbapedia page while writing this, I was surprised to see that the movie was the last Pokemon dub production released with the 4Kids cast. I grew up with the likes of Mike Pollock as Dr. Eggman and the Pokemon narrator, Eric Stewart voicing both Brock and Seto Kaiba, Dan Green voicing both Knuckles and Yugi Muto, and of course Veronica Taylor voicing Ash Ketchum, May in Pokemon Advance, but also Miss Fontaine in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX and Carly Carmine in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. Sheesh, it really is crazy how much of an overlap these productions had. I know people have their problems with 4Kids censorship and their dubs in general, but given like the finger guns and dual monsters and the entire removal of some episodes of Pokemon, but I think these voice actors still remain in my head as some of the best in their business. At the very least, Konami kept embracing them because they ended up all reprising their voices for the Duel Links game that came out. Oh god, Duel Links came out in 2016. God, we're getting old. Anyway, with half of the gym badges in hand though, stuff starts falling like absolute dominoes in Gen 4. It's only slightly slowed down compared to Kanto's latter half thanks to the siege on Spear Pillar. Then again, there are like half a dozen Team Galactic boss fights and 2 berry fights throughout, so it's not just gym after gym. Regardless, after doing a multi-battle with Dawn to get her Pokedex back while also evolving Grotle into Torterra, I figured I'd head on over to the Great Marsh to grab Carnivine, nicknaming it Divine because, at the risk of dating this video, why is Jack Dorsey trying to bring back Vine? I mean, I guess with today's deteriorated attention spans, 6-second videos are probably in demand, at least they aren't 21 seconds long. Horrible joke. Anyway, Barry is waiting in Pastoria City after I interact with a Team Galactic grunt that is no match for the Giggler. That's right, it's the Giggler. Cherum's able to set up a Leech Seed, a few growths, and then start laying in against Starly. Now, why did we go Cherum this fight? Well, it's because of double team on Starly, and I'm not fighting that. Magical Leaf Starly's ass, then Petal Dance down Monferno, with 2 connecting on Roselia to KO, leaving just Buizel. Now, normally it would be a threat to swap out because of Pursuit, but that's why we've equipped a Person Berry to heal off that fatigue, KOing with a Magical Leaf at just 15 HP. Cherum's quickly going to be outclassed though, since I'm closing in on that Shiny Stone for Roserade, and we've got our Physical Sweeper in Carnivine as well as Torterra being the bulky one. Speaking of, Jolly Nature was probably the best thing I could have hoped to roll with her considering that abysmal 46 base speed. Though I imagine I'm still going to take a few pot shots here and there because, whew, that is pretty low, but I'm still working with a base 100 attack and Sword Stance. I really can't complain. And boy, do I have a hard time remembering to grab HMs in these older games, particularly here in Diamond and Pearl. I gotta grab Defog from the Great Marsh, Strength from the Lost Tower, I forgot Fly earlier when I got Dawn's Pokedex back in Veilstone, but Defog's the most immediate priority for north of Salacion Town now that I got the secret potion from Cynthia, heading into Celestic Town, bodying this Galactic Grunt which sounds a little too close for comfort, to get HM03 Surf, then flying back to Hearthome City to take on Fantina. See what I mean by stuff starting to steamroll? Once you get Fly, it just starts rolling like mad. Fantina's a pretty easy one to take care of thanks to Carnivine, since one Sword Stance against Drifblim lets me Feint Attack to KO, leveling up just in time to replace it for Crunch for the rest of the team. Smart idea considering Drifblim has minimized and I didn't want to deal with that potential garbage. And Aftermath could have been a predicament if I let myself get too low HP wise. Out comes Gengar and yeah, on second thought, she should have totally KO'd Carnivine and that I forgot how fast Gengar is in comparison. But hey, I'll 100% take Spite so I can KO with Crunch. Last up is Miss Magius, immediately downed with Crunch after a Confuse Ray fails to do anything thanks to equipped Person Berry. I sure do love how one turn can look like a 200 IQ play of having a weaker yet accuracy bypassing Dark-type move powered up by Sword Stance for the potential Minimizer, only to be replaced by a stronger move at level 37, and then only for that to be against a Gengar that should have totally wrecked my shit with Sludge Bomb. But as I've said in many a video, if it's not a range, then it's not strange when I get away with it. Relic Badge in hand, there isn't anything else to do but talk to Cynthia, fly to Jubilife, and stumble my way into Canalave City. Oh, I can taste that shiny stone now. It's so close. Ah, god damn it, Barry. Can I please get my Roserade first? Well, I should be able to just dog walk this team with Carnivine. Despite his lead Starevia's Intimidate, I'm able to get her to +1 with a Sword Stance, eating an Aerial Ace for slightly less than half as Crunch gets a crit to KO. Probably not needed because of the 6 level difference, but I will take it. Second is Heracross, and that's an easy return KO with 102 power, as is Monferno and Roselia, leaving just Buizel to eat a Vine Whip to go down and win me the fight. Well then, I guess Intimidate did absolutely nothing. Now then, let me get to Iron Island, I need me that shiny stone. There's nothing else in here of interest, so I just dart my way through alongside Riley to get the item, evolving Roselia into Roserade, then finally heading straight into the gym. None of the trainers provide a problem except there being a variety of types that aren't Steel. I mean, seriously, why does this woman have an Azumarill? I mean, I guess if there's huge power Iron Tail, I can see it. That is the only reason. Who cares though? It's Byron time. Now I've got to hedge my bets with my lead Carnivine against his Bronzor as to whether or not it'll go for Hypnosis or Confuse Ray, and I went with the Person Berry. Unfortunately for me, Bronzor went for Hypnosis. But fortunately for me, it missed. So one Swords Dance and a Crunch down to the Ancient Gear as Steelix comes out second. Yeah, not a great Pokemon to be fighting with a physical attacker, so I swap into Roserade and quickly dispatch it with Giga Drain, having to risk a crit on Ice Fang to bring him into the red with Giga Drain. But once Byron sees that Steelix is in red HP, that forces him to either heal or let him go down, with him using a full restore and letting Roserade get off 2 more Giga Drains to not only KO, but get back to near full HP, leaving just Bastiodon. As per usual, Bastiodon's a bulky bastard, but can't hit worth a damn, so Giga Drain's healing outpaces the likes of Flash Cannon, eventually taking him down with Leech Seed, in addition, in about 3 hits to make the 6th badge mine. Get it? It's the mine badge. You'd think after 25 years on this planet I'd be able to make a good pun, but it never ceases to amaze me how horrible they can be. Alright, almost time for the story to grab me by the balls, but only a little tug as there's 2 galactic admins to take care of for right now, with Saturn in Lake Valor leading Kadabra as I go with Carnivine, setting up a Swords Dance in the face of Embargo as Shockwave next turn does next to nothing, KOing Kadabra with a Crunch as Toxicroak enters second and immediately eats shit by way of return. Out comes and down goes Bronzor with a Crunch, and we're out to Lake Verity. Like the previous fight with her, Purugly isn't that much of a threat, so I'm fine to go in and go ham. Especially with the luck I had against her lead Golbat. I mean, Leech Seed connects and Supersonic misses on turn 1, great. Turn 2, Stun Spore hits, immediate full paralysis turn, you'll love to see it, which is then followed by 5 growths, complete with 1 miss of Supersonic and 3 full paralysis turns. The likelihood of that happening is optimally as it was slim to none, but I will take it in the face of a Pokemon that has a quad resistance to grass, though that 5th growth was finally followed by a Supersonic connecting, only to be healed off by my equipped Person Berry. Absolute comedy. 1 Giga Drain later, and Golbat is out of here. Bronzor and Purugly are subsequently slaughtered by 1 Giga Drain each, kicking their galactic glutes out of Lake Verity. I imagine you could use that joke on any team. I mean, you got Rocket Rumps, Flare Fannies, Plasma Posteriors, Aqua Asses, the list goes on. But that just leaves Lake Acuity, and you know what that means. Back to Eterna City we go, through Mount Coronet, and onto Route 216 to grab my 5th and final encounter, Snover. While yeah, I have a great special attacker already, Abomasnow covers quite a few types that Roserade doesn't, mostly with accuracy bypassing blizzards thanks to the Snow Warning ability setting up Hail immediately, along with some great coverage moves like Shadow Ball. And the cherry on top of the sundae is that it finally gives me a neutrality against our next gym leader in Candace. Medicham notwithstanding, since who knew the restricted Diamond and Pearl decks would actually be a boon to challenge, due to forcing the devs to represent a gym leader's type with a coverage move boosted by huge power. Speaking of, the gym battle was a bit tricky to map out, but after about 2 minutes of thinking about it, I just made sure to keep Snover unevolved until level 41 so we could learn Blizzard, as the TM's blocked by Team Galactic Grunts at the moment and won't be available until after this fight. Snover's a one-shot with Blizzard understandably, but that pesky Medicham ends up coming out second only to detect in the face of my Blizzard. Twice. Well, I guess I should have given the PP up to a Abomasnow beforehand, since that leaves me with only 2 Blizzards heading into 3 Pokemon. Thankfully, once it lands, it one-shots, leading to Sneasel, which isn't a problem since Giga Drain can handle her, and save my last point of Blizzard while topping off Abomasnow's HP, eating slashes for breakfast while two-shotting the Sneasel, leaving just the abominable Snow Woman. Blizzard does about 75%, but with that Citrus Berry kicking in and a Grass Whistle connecting to put my Abomasnow to sleep, I know I've got my work cut out for me. Especially with a Swagger on top of the status, waking up next turn and causing Abomasnow to hit itself. But I've got the heart of the cards, because if this Ice Beam connects, it's no matter the range, and per usual my Abomasnow snaps out of confusion and KOs the mirror match to win me the fight. At this point, I am just pressing the game's buttons. You will not punish me for anything but a range, and I will continue to prove it. I'm kind of just doing it despite it at this point. Now, that was the first of the hardest fights I imagined I'd be dealing with, but frankly, I should have seen that being a lot less difficult with my own Abomasnow to carry me. However, the Cyrus fights should have been the ones I was worried about since he's got quite the number of flying types, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Mostly because there's the TM for Sludge Bomb that I can get from the Galactic Headquarters in Veilstone City right after getting the card key for the remainder of the area. Okay, now for the Cyrus fight. And this first one really isn't that threatening because most of his Pokemon aren't evolved yet, as Murkrow immediately eats Doodoo because of Blizzard, as does Golbat, leaving just Sneasel, who gets 3-shot by Giga Drain after a Citrus Berry, which Abomasnow put up with due to it being a held item. But once Cyrus decided to bust out a Super Potion, he got pissed and hit a crit Giga Drain purely to say, "This battle ended this turn if it weren't for outside interference." Speaking of, wouldn't that be a hilarious gimmick for a Pokemon game? Take the active time battles of Legend CA, put a referee in there, get a distraction mechanic by using another one of your Pokemon as if it were a pro wrestling match, and cheat to win by, like, healing in the middle of a battle you're not allowed to. That's a golden idea right there. Tell you what, Pokemon Company, if you use that idea, I won't ask for royalties, but I would happily take a check in the mail on the 1st of every month. Actually, I guess that's royalties. Anywho, we've got the Saturn fight right after, and this fight's free just like the last time. Kadabra wastes its turn on Embargo as Carnivine sets up Swords Dance, leaving Crunch to take it out, return on Toxicroak, and another Crunch on Bronzor to finish the fight. Now then, Mount Coronet time. Sadly, I've got to go in with only 4 team members since I need 2 HM users to get through here. There's Surf, Rock Climb... Wait, you don't need Strength or Rock Smash to get the Spear Pillar? Huh. Well, if I had realized that, I totally would have brought Cherim into the multi-battle alongside Barry against Mars and Jupiter. And the final battle against Cyrus. I can't really complain though, since this multi-battle is kind of a joke. Pretty easy to take care of because you just target down one side. I used Sword Stance to set up with Carnivine, then outed Jupiter's Bronzor with Crunch, and then returned to both Golbat and Skuntank to leave it on a 2-on-1 affair. I also made sure to keep a Person Berry equipped just in case Mars's Bronzor to try to do something dumb, but thankfully I was able to pull through by KOing her Bronzor with Crunch, then return to Golbat only for Purugly to outspeed and nail a critical aerial ace on Carnivine. Hanging on by only a thread, only to deliver a newly learned Power Whip to earn the win. Yeah, I played around the crit, about f***ing time, right? Well, I'm gonna need all the firepower I can get against Cyrus, leading his newly evolved Honchkrow as I'm not able to shift around my lead. Unfortunate, but who cares when it's another free fight. The AI has a serious problem prioritizing Embargo when I'm playing a hardcore Nuzlocke that automatically has me under the stipulation of no item usage in battle, so a Sword Stance in response and a return on the next turn takes out the head honcho, then nearly one-shots with return in the face of Crobat as Cross Poison ends up hitting for over half. I wish I was intelligent, but I didn't realize Cyrus's AI would prioritize a Super Potion over seeing the KO by outspeeding with Crobat on Carnivine. Since I swapped into Roserade, expecting that to take priority over healing, but not a problem though, since now I can just Leech Seed and Giga Drain, letting Torterra come out on the last turn of it to KO, and KO Weavile with 2 Earthquakes, taking a Night Slash and leaving just Gyarados. It uses Giga Impact on my newly swapped in Abomasnow, and therefore 2 turns are given to me to fire off Blizzard to KO and win the fight with no casualties. Just wonderful. Palkia goes in the box, and it's off to Sunny Shore. The trek there is pretty much free, as are the trainers inside, leaving just the man himself, Volkner. Only 2 electric types to deal with alongside an Ambipom and Octillery, so this should be more interesting than normal. I know people complain about the limited Diamond and Pearl decks, and while it's limiting to the player on one hand, it's also limiting to the devs on the other and forces them to do these coverage moves on otherwise non-primary type Pokemon for the team, and something like Shockwave on Ambipom. Yapping aside though, he leads Raichu, I'm in on Torterra immediately, and that's getting an Earthquake. See ya, chump. Oh yes, and setting up a light screen before leaving the field. Very smart to do in the face of a Torterra. Second out is Octillery, and while Razor Leaf doesn't get the KO, I can kinda just sit here and use Synthesis until I land one. Though I'm kinda not in the mood, so I go into Abomasnow because of the accuracy deprivation from Octazooka, and hit Giga Drain to KO, leading to Luxray, who eats 2 Blizzards, and Hail damage to go down, leaving just the Ambipom. I've already won at this point, so I seal the deal by swapping into Torterra, as Ambipom legitimately has 1 attacking move and Shockwave, with the other 3 being Agility, Nasty Plot, and Baton Pass. Threatening set, to be fair. I mean, if this was the lead of the fight, I think Volkner would be a much more difficult behemoth, but it's just the last Pokemon, I guess. That's the Beacon Badge, and only half a dozen fights to go. Now with the massive level cap hike from 49 to 63, that gives me more than enough freedom to spike my levels to up to 60 in preparation for Barry's fight in the Pokemon League building just after a breezy victory road, which is about 10 levels higher than his average. Sure, the final evolution starter is level 53, but when that's Infernape, I'm gonna need all the advantage I can get. Staraptor's the lead with a 12 level deficit in the face of my Carnivine, eating the Intimidate but managing to set up 2 sword stances in the face of Stealing and U-turn, eating Heracross for breakfast next turn with a critical return, and Staraptor after the second Intimidate drowns out my first sword stance, still managing to down the soon-to-be Mega Bird with a return as Infernape enters third. He sure is trying to throw his counters out early, that's for sure. Unfortunately for Infernape, +2 102 power return still gonna rip through the HP of a Pokemon with an 8 level deficit, marking the halfway point of the fight as Barry's Roserade eats Poo from return, Floatzel from Power Whip after it lands a Brick Break, and finally Snorlax from one last Power Whip to earn me the win and entrance into the league. Once everybody's at level 63 and edged up as far as they can get to level 64, I'm ready. Not too many moveset adjustments, but I've got plenty of TMs in the back just in case for some moveset changes throughout. First on the docket, Aaron the Bug User. He's a little threatening due to our weakness here, but being the first member, his levels are obviously going to end up being dog poo in comparison to mine in relation to the last member's ace, so I can kinda just go in guns blazing with Carnivine, setting up 2 sword stances against his lead Dustox's Light Screen and a single double team, then rip through Dustox and Beautifly with return, Vespiquen with Crunch, then finally Heracross and Drapion with return. Quick win, as is Bertha considering our type advantage. Her leading Quagsire is the perfect opportunity for me to, holy shit, nearly die to a critical dig after setting up a Leech Seed into growth. Poisoning her in the process thanks to Poison Point, but my god. Luckily for me though, I can just go for Giga Drain to KO, but she does get the Miracle Run off of Protect, eventually bringing her into full restore range, which normally would be a waste of time, but in all reality is good for me because Roserade just gets to recover back to full HP because of the Leech Seed damage and Giga Drain recovery. At that point, that just leaves Whiscash, Sudowoodo, Hippowdon, and Golem to all fall in the face of the Rose Reaper, earning me the second of 5 wins in the league. Now then, the true test of this Nuzlocke. Can this team of 5 get through Flint? Sure, there's only 2 fire types in Rapidash and Infernape, but damn if I'm not kind of afraid of Drifblim as a flying type and Steelix's Sunny Day and Fire Fang coverage. Well, at least Rapidash is free as he sets up Sunny Day, and Torterra rips right through with a one-shot KO thanks to the power of Earthquake, and second out is Drifblim, who sets up a double team as I swap into a Abomasnow, replacing that Sunny Day that would otherwise be disastrous with Hail, and in turn solves my double team problem by giving me accuracy bypassing Blizzard to one-shot and lead to Infernape. Ain't no way I'm staying in with a Bulbasaur at this point, so it's out to Torterra as the only Pokemon that could possibly eat a single Flare Blitz without going down, and sure enough, that's the move he goes for, doing around 2/3 and burning in the process, all while Infernape does about 1/3 to himself in recoil. Well, at least I have the contingency plan of holding a Rostberry to heal off the burn, but there's no way Torterra outspeeds Infernape. Shoot. I guess it's time to pull the trigger, bring out the sacrifice! However, it doesn't seem as though Cherrim ends up being a sacrifice yet, instead eating a very light Earthquake and Mach Punch to allow her to set up a Leech Seed. Very appreciated. I suppose Cherrim got to be more than a sacrifice after all, but the third attack it throws out is finally Flare Blitz, KOing Cherrim and giving me my first death of the run, but forcing Infernape in range of Roserade's Sludge Bomb, outspeeding and revenge KOing in the process. Perfect. That means Steelix eats a Leech Seed and Giga Drain combo to get sent into the red, with 2 more Giga Drains KOing and leaving just Lil Punny. Ah yes, I must commend you on your usage of Charm against my special attacker there, Flint, but at least you managed to finally take a Pokemon off me because nobody else has. Now you hate to see one of the team members go down, but considering the only other fights are against Lucian and Cynthia, I kind of expected at least one to go down to Flint beforehand, and it may as well be the Pokemon that was the weakest link. Heck, I wouldn't even consider the fight against Lucian to be a problem though, since that's Carnivine's wheelhouse. Sword Stance, Thunderbolt from Mr. Mime, Sword Stance, Thunderbolt from Mr. Mime, then Crunch for Mr. Mime, Return for Medicham, and finally 3 more Crunches for Alakazam after dodging a Focus Blast. Not really much of a feat because it's fucking Focus Blast, but what can you do? Then of course Girafarig and Bronzong to earn me the win. One more to go, and it's Cynthia. Now, as long as Garchomp doesn't decide to go apeshit, I should be just fine, especially since she has 2 water types that will totally be eaten alive by my team. Spiritomb doesn't have any weaknesses in Gen 4, but it sure has a weakness on me in the form of Silverwind, but I should be able to combat it with Carnivine. Sword Stance is once again employed, outspeeding, and why am I not surprised the instant she connects with Silverwind, it gets the Omni Boost? I guess I was due for some bad luck that wasn't due with the range, but that's what Power Whip's for, as +2 120 power stab is more than enough to plow through a +1 defense Spiritomb, still outspeeding and leading to Roserade, who falls to return. Third is Gastrodon, down to Power Whip. Fourth is Milotic, down to the same, with Garchomp coming out fifth. Now it barely survives a +2 Power Whip after connecting with a Brick Break that's healed off by an equipped Citrus Berry, and somehow doesn't send her into healing range, even though I thought it did since I went for a second Swords Dance. Oh shit, I guess I'm gonna need to power up a Abomasnow after all. Dragon Rush does a bit over half, but Hail does bring her into healing range this time, so that accuracy bypassing Blizzard is all I need to KO Garchomp on a healing turn, leaving just Lucario. Makes sense to leave that job to Torterra, swapping in on an Aura Sphere and eating him alive with an Earthquake, KOing with the super effective Stab 100 power move, and winning the match in the championship with only grass types. And yeah, I did have a death, sure, but Cherrim again was by far and away the most expendable out of this entire team. 2 special attackers, 1 sweeper, and 1 bulky weather setter, and I had 2 capable physical attackers handling Pokemon in much different ways, with Torterra being the bulky healer with Synthesis and Carnivine with Swords Dance, and boy did she overperform. I did not realize how fun Carnivine was to use in Gen 4 since I've never had the chance to try it out before, and honestly, I'm impressed. Especially so because I forgot that Power Whip wasn't a Gen 5 move made for Therathorn. I just wish Cherrim was more useful. After all, I didn't even get to use the Sunshine form in this video. But anyway, I hope you folks enjoyed the video. Feel free to check out another video on screen, you'll probably enjoy it too. And if you really enjoyed it, feel free to throw me a super thanks in the comments below, or if you're on mobile, use the hype button below this video. I have no idea what it does, but I heard from Wrestling with Regrets Brian Zane that it does good things for videos in the algorithm, and I think it's hype finishing a Pokemon game with only a single type and not even a full team of them at that. With that, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.